month for Sexual Violence Awareness Month. We have so many amazing partners here today, including Rural Youth Union, NH Youth. Everyone's coming closer. Awesome. Little circle here, semicircle.
I love it.
Okay, now that everyone is in the semicircle. So today we have here today with us the Rural Youth Union, NH Youth Movement, Reproductive Freedom Fund, Dave Kirkpatrick from Rights and Democracy, and Katrina Nugent from the NX Center for Violence Prevention. Sexual violence is a very intersectional issue, and the groups speaking here today all work to create change in the way our community operates. Our first speaker is going to be Bree Flores from the Reproductive Freedom Fund. Hi everyone. Do I put this away? Hello? Hi. Okay. Good evening, y'all. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak at this wonderful and powerful event. I'm honored to be here with so many people working so hard for the collective liberation of us all. My name is Bree Flores. I'm here representing the Reproductive Freedom Fund as the co-outreach director. We exist to fund abortion services for patients who cannot afford the cost of the procedure. Prior to 2020, there was no organization with the aid in financing abortions, despite how many people need financial assistance. Unfortunately, state lawmakers in New Hampshire are continuously introducing legislation that reduces our access to abortions. Due to the Hyde Amendment, those on Medicaid cannot use their insurance to fund those abortions, and they can be very costly. An abortion averages at about $500, and that's a big chunk of change to just cough up when you're already struggling, you know? This year, we were able to start the wonderful work of funding abortions and have given about $11,000 to support, in support so far within just 2 months. Thank you. It's been great. It's easy to recognize that there is such a great need in the Granite State, as our weekly $1,000 allotment is always used up by midweek. That just highlights how much of a need there is in New Hampshire for helping with funding abortions. The connection between survivor and reproductive justice is so important. After someone experiences trauma, the last thing that they should need to worry about is coming up with the funds for an abortion. In 2018, New Hampshire's 12 domestic and sexual violence crisis centers served over 15,000 people. Of that, 3,030 were victims of sexual abuse, many of which needed fiscal support that RFF-NH can now provide. Some of the more staggering statistics are 1 in 4 women in New Hampshire have experienced sexual assault. Okay, happening. Another staggering statistic is, hold on one second. Much like abortions, sexual violence is costly on many levels. The CDC estimates that the cost of rape is $122,461 per victim, including expenses for medical costs, loss of productivity, court fees, and other costs. This is an unbelievable and unbearable expense to endure after already enduring an unbearable trauma, and it should not be on an individual to have to front these costs. It is one less barrier for people to have to go through to access what they need. We strive for affordable, safe, and accessible reproductive health resources for everyone in the Granite State. We take this responsibility very seriously by incorporating trauma-informed training into our work on our hotline and everything we do with everyone we talk to. We make sure that they get the resources that they need. Joyce Chadiak sums this up really well in saying, for women, empowerment, equality, and dignity are directly tied to the ability to control their own bodies and reproductive decision-making. The Reproductive Freedom Fund of New Hampshire is proud to be in a community with you all tonight, speaking for justice. May we all keep striving to build a world free from violence, and may we all be able to do necessary work of healing. Thank you so much for having us.
And then next we're going to have Anna McGinnis from Rural Youth Union. Hi. I hate to stand when everyone else is sitting. So. I'm going to give a quick, I'm just going to put a warning at the beginning of this because I'm going to talk about, I know this whole night is about sexual assault awareness, so most people should be aware of sort of the content of the evening, but I'm going to give a pretty intense talk about those subjects, so if anybody wants to leave before I talk about those topics like rape and sexual assault, and I use those words a lot, feel free to, or if you need to go at any point, I want you all to know that that's a space where you can do that. So that we're all safe and we're all comfortable here. I would want that warning before somebody gave the speech that I'm about to give, so I'm giving that all to you. Most people here that I can see are Conval students. I graduated Conval in 2019. I'm looking at some Conval teachers, some Conval parents. Most people here are members of, the Conval High School community. If you aren't, I hope that you can maybe gain something from my speech that you could apply to your own communities, but really what I'm talking to here is people who are directly related to the high school that I just graduated from, and the place that I grew up in. At Conval, almost every teen girl knows who in their friend group has been raped and who in their friend group is a rapist. And they sit in their classes 2 rows apart from a boy who makes their stomach twist into knots every single time they look to their right. And we don't say anything because, your friend begged you not to, because it isn't worth it, and because nobody will ever believe you, and because you know that your friend was drunk anyways. I took classes with rapists at Conval High School, and everybody in those classes, we pretended like we didn't know, because it's easier that way. It's less confrontational. The culture at the high school here regarding sexual assault is disgusting, because it isn't a secret culture. It's not something that you stumble upon. It's an open secret. It's an unspoken rule. Rape and sexual assault goes on at parties and between partners, and partners never report what happened because they're afraid of hurting the person that they love or that they're being manipulated by, and may not even recognize that what happened was assault because they're 15 years old, 16 years old. Drunken assaults at parties rarely go reported because of the extensive amounts of bullying, victim blaming, and slut-shaming that come with telling your story. There are consequences for telling the truth and for peeling back the veil about what goes on there. It's hard as well because it's such a small school. I could tell you stories about the people I know and about what happened to them, but everybody here would know exactly who I was talking about, regardless of how many details I cut out or if I used fake names. But I think the truth of the matter is this, that every Conval student, whether they want to admit it or not, knows what I'm talking about. They've sat in class with that guy who we all know to watch our stuff around or to never be alone with. We've all heard about that girl who something really bad happened to at that party. But didn't you also hear that she did something to deserve it, or that it was her fault? And didn't you hear from so-and-so that it wasn't really that simple? It's never really that simple at Conval. It's very easy for rape culture to infiltrate high schools because they are insular. Your entire social circle exists in one building. It's one group of people. And so culture spreads quickly. Everybody adopts it. Everybody adopts the same mindset about a topic. And then people who deviate from that mindset are punished for that deviation, which breeds secrecy and it breeds toxicity. I urge all of the Conval students here to take active steps to stop keeping the secret. It only serves the perpetrators and the abusers of our community to insist on keeping the dark side of our realities under wraps. The epidemic of sexual assault in our community will not be stopped with shame. It stops with communication, care, and accountability. Everybody is responsible for taking steps to end this. That means teachers, that means students, that means parents, that means everyone. And that means not just reporting people, sending them to jail. That doesn't just mean, our typical vision of what justice looks like. That means, that restorative justice table we have over there. That means better sex education. That means everything that Reagan's been fighting for and that Lorian's been fighting for, that all of these great people, SBOC, have been fighting for, because they've been telling you for years that this is happening. But people don't listen. There are a lot of people who've been saying for a long time that this is happening, but because they're victims, they're just shamed into secrecy over and over again. We watch it happen, and nothing changes. So, I'd like it very much if everybody could walk away tonight and we could all do our part together to stop keeping that secret, because we all know that it's true. Thank you.
And then now we're going to have Leah Crayson from End Sexual Violence on Campus. Woo! Is it loud? Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Leah, a proud member of SBOC. I'd like to start by thanking the amazing guests we've had today and the great words we've heard. All of us put extraordinary effort into our causes, and these moments of solidarity are motivation to keep going. It's important that we continue to listen and learn from each other. There's so much to be gained from community organizing and action. I'd love to take this opportunity to share a little of my story with this amazing group and what I've learned from the experience so far. Having been a part of SBOC for around a year and a half at this point, I've seen so much change, not only in the community, but also with myself and my relationship with activism. A few months before SBOC officially began, I designed a personal initiative for myself to call out every iteration of rape culture I saw. I'm pretty sure most of us have done something similar, as we began to center sexual violence as a conversation in recent years. From the moment I started doing this, though, I became more and more consumed with anger at the sheer quantity of this rhetoric surrounding me. The more I pointed out, the more I noticed, and I began to see how little comments and actions fed into each other and grew the problem. So here I was, stomping around and confronting people for their poor taste in humor and word choice. And honestly, the only noticeable outcome of my initiative was a loss in friends. People did not stop. Our culture is readily prepared to dismiss a social justice warrior or radical feminist in the blink of an eye. And make no mistake, I was positively annoying in that period, preaching my long-winded manifesto in response to a one-line rape joke. I was doing what I could as an individual, armed with only my anger. The longer this went on, the more resolute I got, but the societal issue of rape culture became constrained to my world, and more specifically, just my brain. I was having more dialogue with myself about this issue than any living, breathing person who could have benefited from conversation. My effort may have been well-intentioned, but it was primarily self-serving, as I spouted my ideas about all the wrong in the world with little action. This was an individualistic approach to changing the world, something I felt was necessary for me to do by myself. Because of the way empowerment is marketed in our society, activism consistently stops at the personal level. The idea of organized work
of building community is extremely daunting. In a system that would rather keep us apart with our heads down, it's incredibly difficult to take those first steps and decide to do something concrete. Luckily, I was met with an opportunity through community organization and action to channel the frustration I had about these problems. Sexual violence is an overwhelmingly complex issue that consumes every facet of our lives, especially that of a high schooler. Looking at the mess of intersecting problems that contribute to this issue, it's hard to know where to begin. Consent education is lackluster or completely absent from our curriculums, and students are not given a serious environment at any point in their life to learn about respect and bodily autonomy in this context. We have a victim-blaming culture that keeps survivors from speaking out and impresses upon all of us this notion that individuals deserve unwanted harassment or assault they receive. And importantly, this issue has been swept under the rug for so long because the societal pressure for survivors to keep quiet and endure is relentless. So beginning the conversations about this issue and putting in the work to fix it is not easy. But we have to step up and do as much as possible to help the many people suffering with this, and that's what SBOC has been working on for so long. I don't think I should talk about any of the amazing things SBOC has accomplished without first giving credit to Reagan, who took the original steps to create this group and has accomplished so much in the last year and a half. Today, we have a fully functioning group who's produced educational materials, recorded a podcast, written a comprehensive consent curriculum, presented at a national summit, built a sexual and menstrual health care distribution service, and more. I'm incredibly proud of what we've accomplished in such a short span of time, and I never would have imagined this before the group got working. All the things we've done simply would not be possible individually. Having a community to work with for change is such an important function of activism. We're trying to help the community, and to do that, we need to start with one of our own. Thinking back to the individual effort I put into this issue for so long, just trying to call things out, and the negative progress I faced, it's so rewarding to list off the concrete accomplishments done with the help of a coalition and wider focus. And it is much less demoralizing work to work on real projects and initiatives than to be stretching myself thin with personally educating everyone I encounter. There's no inherent problem with individual activism, and I definitely believe we all need to make our best efforts to speak out when we hear something damaging. But we can do more. We can do more when we join forces, and not just through surface level holding hands connection, but through real community that takes effort from everyone involved. We have a number of amazing groups here today that are doing just that, and I'm so proud to be connected with them. Everyone here has put their own time and effort into showing up for causes they care about, and we're so appreciative. I ask that you keep going and continue to community build. That's the most effective way to help people around you. I think it's amazing that we're all here today and have shown up in support of the causes we care about. And we have ways to learn more and connect now. The great groups we partner with today, along with SBOC, have set up some tables with information and such behind you that we would love for you to all spend some time checking out. You can learn more about the individual groups and some information specific to sexual violence, along with a bake sale and some merchandise. And soon after that, we're going to begin a candlelit vigil for victims of sexual violence, so please stay for the rest of the event. Thank you all so much.
That works. All right. Yeah, hi, everybody. My name is Katrina. I'm the Prevention Education Program Director for MCVP. We are the local crisis center for all of Cheshire County and then 14 towns in western Hillsborough County. And I do all of our prevention education programming in schools, which is, I know, a very strong passion of SBOC here today. So very happy to be working with them. I did want to just let you know a little story as we are all gathered here today as people who organize and gather for a cause. The little story about MCVP, it started with a handful of really dedicated, really compassionate women who wanted to save lives, right? So literally 5 of them got together and started sheltering survivors in their homes, in attics, in spare apartments that anybody could find. If they were going to be out of town for a week, they left it there. It was really a grassroots type of effort. And that started in 1977. And from there, we were able to actually buy an apartment. We were able to use hotels, anything we could to make sure that people were safe and free from violence. And from there, here we are today. We have our own space. We have our own shelter that we can hold up to 11 people. Absolutely, thank you for that. We have our prevention education education program, which is 50% of what we do as an organization. Just last year, we helped to write the state sexual violence prevention plan. We lobby for legislation to help survivors. And currently I'm working on the governor's task force for sexual misconduct on college campuses. So, please know that all of your efforts here today matter. All of your efforts that you've been doing, they matter, and they will make a difference. Thank you.
Cool! Thank you everyone so much for being here. I just want to reiterate Leah's point about tables. There's so much information back there. I'm going to point a few out. So NH Youth Movement is over here on the far right. You guys are the NH Rights and Democracy is the table right next to them. And then we've got kind of a lot of stuff at this table. You can find more data, you can find information about SFOC, and we also have a little sample box from our Sexual Healthcare Anonymous Distribution effort, which we call SHADE for short. We love acronyms. And then we've got merch and bake sale items. We have Bree and her partner. Oh, I'm losing the name, I'm so sorry. I still can't hear you. But cool people back at that table. And then we have a restorative justice table right next to them, which has a lot on the information that Anna was talking about, moving away from punitive justice. And then we have Anna and Xander, who have a lot to say about RYU as well as some work they do in Keene every week on Wednesdays. And then finally, we have Eddie Gomez over here, he's running for town clerk in Peterborough. Yeah, woo! There's a lot to say on a lot of really cool things. So yeah, please take your time, walk around, talk to us, introduce yourself. Cool.
Absolutely, yeah. Someone does need it. Took me a second to realize how many people are actually here when we're all in this big circle. That's awesome. Okay, so I know I went around and talked to a few of you guys about how we'd close this thing out. The initial idea was that we do candles. This can be very symbolic and also very peaceful, but it's a bit windy, it's a bit light out, so we thought we would do something a little simpler. Full circle, moment of silence, and a couple of closing words. So actually, I think I'm going to reverse that order. I think I'm going to give a couple of words, and then we're going to do a moment of silence. And then you guys are free to go. Thank you so much for being here. It really, I can't express how much it means to see everybody here, to see so many people that we work with outside of today, new ideas, prospects for further collaboration. I think it's really nice, at least for me, and I'm sure for other people who have been working online and at home for the past year and a half, to see faces and full bodies and have conversations and laugh with, I don't know, with everybody here. So I guess my last word will be, I'm a survivor of sexual violence. I know several other people here, or several people in this community, in my school, in the state, in the country, in the world. So what started as kind of like a last-ditch attempt at, seeking a community for myself has evolved into something so much bigger, so meaningful to me. To be able to be here and look at the faces of all the people we've collaborated with it's very emotional. And I won't cry, but I guess I will use this as an opportunity to transition into a moment of silence. So here's that to commemorate all survivors of sexual violence.